until we get Marissa, we'll go ahead and dive into some LSU talk. Jake, as we were talking before the show, and generally at 7:15, unless there's some big news, maybe like a weekend baseball series, I like to leave with LSU football. You have some boots on the ground LSU football school reporting. When did you get to go see LSU football school?
I went one day last week. I think it was Wednesday of last week, and I went out and just wanted to check it out. Wanted to see what the vibe was. And one of the things that, and I think we talked about at the end of last week, is how they handle the quarterback situation, because they do have to keep all four guys engaged, in my opinion. You want everybody engaged in this competition. And one of the things that I noticed was, for Jake Peets, every quarterback gets every rep. And if you're wondering, like, wait a minute, how is that
explain
possible?
this. How is this possible?
Okay, so there's not a football at football school.
There's no football at football school. There's
football school.
A delicious irony there.
All right, so you've got to do the whole fake, go through your motions or whatever. So what they do is they get one guy out there and he goes through all of his progressions, but the other quarterbacks are right there with him doing the same thing. So they don't want anyone to think right now, hey, you're getting all the ones and the twos and the threes. Every quarterback goes through every rep, and I thought that was a good way to keep those guys engaged. So that's definitely something that I noticed. And also, Jake Peets, most energy and the loudest out there, which is something I think is a good thing.
So, Jake, you were talking about the quarterbacks, talking about Peets, talking about that energy. I'm with you. Look, this quarterback room needs to stay engaged, because I don't know who's going to win the job, but whoever does, I think will be very good, because I think it's the most talented. It's definitely the most experienced quarterback room that I've seen since probably the Jamarcus Flynn type of days with Perilou. Exactly.
Jimmy Walker.
Did you? Hey, my guy, dude, California's finest, right?
Go.
I mean, yes.
I
remember Jimmy Walker living on our couch for 3 days after Gustav back in the day at WCA. Anyway, did you pick up on, since we're on the subject of quarterback, eye test, did you pick up on anything with the guys? Not like who's doing the simulated snaps better, but like did anything jump out to you? Like size, like comfortability? Obviously, it would have been the first time that I think you would have gotten eyes on Garrett Nussmeier.
Yes, and so, God, I even hate saying this because I know we've said it so many times. Myles Brennan does look bigger. He looks big. I know his weight's been talked about. Like, he looks like significantly bigger. Like, he looks like a different cat out there. Max Johnson looks a little bit different too, in a good way. So this is a very talented quarterback room. Obviously, all these guys are going to be competing. You've got a young guy, Nussmeier, in there as well. So I love competition at that position in the springtime, and I realize where we're at in this day and age of college football. All four probably not going to be wearing the purple and gold when you open up the season. That's just the way it is now. But that competition is going to breed excellence, and you said it. Like when Jamarcus Flynn and Perilou were here, those guys got after it every single day in the springtime leading into the season, because Matt Flynn will tell you every time you ask him, like, I thought I was going to go out there and win the job every single year because it was a real competition. I know a lot of people don't believe that, but it was, and that brought the best out of Jamarcus as well.
So, okay, so that's the kind of quarterback breakdown. For what it's worth, if we're just, like, placing bets, I do think Myles wins this job. I think he has the most experience. I think he has a confidence gained by last year, even with the injuries or even with the injury, because he really was playing so well in those 3 games that we got to see him. So I do think he has the inside track. We'll see where it goes. Any other observations from football school that kind of jumped out at you? I know it's just, it's a weird thing to try to draw conclusions from or takes from.
You can tell Keishawn Butte's the guy. You know what I mean?
He's carrying himself with that alpha energy.
He is. When you walk out there and you see him running his routes and you see him just walking with his peers, you're like, okay, that's the dude.
Yep.
Like, even if you didn't know who he was, you'd ask, okay, who is that guy? What's his name? Because he had that energy about him, which I think he has the potential to be the next great one. And we've had a long list, but recently when you talk about Jets and you talk about Jamar Chase, I mean, he has the opportunity to fall kind of in that line. And I love seeing him walk that walk when I went out there the other day.
Yeah, I mean, I guess going for over $300 in a SEC game to win the game and go 5-5. I mean, that'll give you that alpha type of status. All right, and then Jake, were the defensive coaches there when you were at football school? Did you get any eyes on
they were, but
defense. Okay, there we go. I agree.
Defense.
They're not very intelligent. That is definitely true.
They're born turds.
Yeah,
I'll go to my grave saying that. No. They were on the other end. I was staying kind of more focused on the offense. And
Turd, is that a Phillip Riversism there?
/ Joey Hester. Yeah.
Okay, right on. Speaking of receivers, you're mentioning Keyshawn Butte. LSU has, like you said, a long lineage. One of those members of that lineage would be Jamar Chase, who is currently the #1 ranked wide receiver in this upcoming draft. A lot of people surprised to hear that. Jake, I always like picking your kind of NFL insight. If I were to put Jamar Chase and Devontae Smith next to each other, why do you think so many people are landing on Chase over Smith, given the fact that we just saw Devontae Smith win a Heisman?
I think it's just the physicality of Jamar Chase. I mean, when you look at these two guys side by side, and that's not taken away from Devontae Smith. I don't, I understand where he played, but you got to give that young man his credit. I mean, that young man went out and dominated college football like we've really not seen at that position. So he is going to have his space in the NFL. But I think teams really look at these two and they realize, okay, teams are going to try to get physical with Devontae from the get-go, right? Can he get off press coverage? Can he do the things when it's not as easy for him? They saw Jamar kind of do some of those things a year ago. So I think just the physical nature of Jamar's body compared to Devontae and what they run in the 40 is going to be important as well. Right, Jamar needs to go out there and run a low time, which I know he's going to. So if I have these two guys and they were both uber successful in college, they both run 4.4s or even lower, whatever that might be. Their stats are kind of similar. Okay, what's going to be the common denominator? Well, Jamar Chase is going to be over 200 pounds. Devontae Smith's going to be 175.
There's kind of a little bit of I don't know if irony is the right word, but it's interesting that Devontae Smith, like the same thing that has always hounded him, the kind of doubt created by his size, will again come to affect that kind of decision in the NFL. It's just the reality of his situation. So more motivation for Devontae Smith to try to prove people wrong.
Maybe he can do like I did and go chug a gallon of water right before you weigh in on pro day.
Oh, okay. You should have just stuck my old man's old center of the Saints, Joe Hilgenberg, was an old Iowa wrestler, incredible pass blocker, played 10, 12 years in the NFL, something like that, at like 265 playing center. He said he used to weigh in, Morgan Simet, he would weigh in with 5-pound weights in his girdle to just add a little bit
for
there.
him.
Yeah, that's beast mode.
I would have been a little nervous to get on the scale at pro day with 5-pound weights in my girdle.
I don't think the meat market would allow it.
Probably been blackballed from the NFL. This guy's trying to cheat already.
Okay, so look, we got Verge Osberg coming up. We'll talk to him about obviously some of the news recently with the recruiting class finishing up, some transfers coming in, your little football school there as well. Keep it locked right here. If you're watching on YouTube, like it, share it, all that good stuff helps out the show, get the numbers up, and we'll be back with more Off the Bench here on 104.5 ESPN.